Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
Despite a valiant effort from the Pacers without Tyrese Haliburton, the Thunder were simply too much in the end, winning their first NBA title in franchise history. Also, the Suns traded away Kevin Durant to the Houston Rockets, and LSU is back on top of the college baseball world once again.
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
The Oklahoma City Thunder are NBA champions. They defeat the Indiana Pacers in Game 7 to take home the title. Here to talk about that with me is Rylan Stiles, the host over at Locked On Thunder. Rylan, first of all, congratulations to you and all of the Oklahoma City faithful that have been waiting for this moment. You had the teams with Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, Serge Ibaka, etc. Other disappointments, but Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and this Thunder team, they take it home. Let's talk about Game 7 first in particular. The game shifts when Tyrese Haliburton goes down, but it is still not easy to close out a playoff game, and let alone a Game 7 of the NBA Finals. How did the Thunder stay resilient and get the job done here?
Yeah, I think that this Thunder team stuck to their identity, and that's what's been so impressive about this young Thunder team is that they don't get rattled. I mean, the Game 6, you cannot put into words what a no-show Game 6 was for a franchise who's never been 48 minutes from a championship like they were in Game 6 to just not even appear in the gym. And then to come back in this game, and things got tight. Even as Haliburton goes out, the Thunder are down a point at halftime, and then in the third quarter, they flipped the switch. They played an entirely different brand of basketball on the defensive end, but a brand of basketball that was in line with what got them to the finals, what got them to this point, to being on the doorstep of a championship, and they kicked that door down with their defense, and they continued to respond. They did not drop consecutive games all postseason. They only lost consecutive games twice in this entire year. Once was whenever they had the Western Conference wrapped up, and once was whenever they quite literally did not have a healthy center. That's how dominant the Thunder were all year long, and so they end up as champions.
It was an incredible regular season. They backed that up in the postseason and obviously the finals to get the job done. And this is something, Rylan, I know Sam Presti has believed in it. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has believed in it. It has been their version of the process, and it certainly worked for them. What does it mean to you and seeing the energy in the arena in Game 7, the confetti falling, these guys celebrating with one another, the fans embracing? Just take me through that moment of witnessing this all happen and what it means to Oklahoma City and this fan base.
Yeah, I think that what it means to Oklahoma in particular is, they finally have something that they can hold up nationally that is a uniting front of just everyone in the entire state is behind this team. That's uncommon with sports because it's the only professional sports team. And of course, colleges have their own rooted interests dividing a state. But it's the one thing that they've been able to rally around, and the one thing that they can hold up that's not tragedies. I mean, like, you only know Oklahoma nationally, globally, from how they've rallied behind them in sense of devastations in one way or another. And now you see a triumph in Oklahoma, and that's huge. And to win a professional championship in one of the four major sports is huge in Oklahoma. And then you look at the organization, and it is a coronation of what's been a historic run. I mean, from 2008 until right now, they've had 4 seasons where they weren't in it, and every other season they were in it. They were in the mix. They were a contender, and that's not supposed to happen for a small market like this. It's not supposed to happen for teams like Oklahoma City, and it's a credit to Sam Presti. It's a credit to Clay Bennett, the owner, and it's a credit to sticking the course and watching how if you've paid attention, if you just simply sat down and listened to Sam Presti or read his op-ed in the local newspaper, he told you exactly the type of team he wanted to build, the archetype of players that he wanted to build in and bring in. He brought those players in, he built that roster, and this roster plays the exact identity that he described, and it was an identity that got them a championship.
I want to get into the now and the future with you about this team. I mean, what are you going to remember about this particular version, this championship version of the Oklahoma City Thunder? And then what's next for this team? I mean, this is a young team. They're just getting started. Feels like the future is very bright in Oklahoma City right now.
I'm going to remember what a once-in-a-lifetime team this is. I mean, you can have the debate if they're a historic all-time team or not. One thing you cannot debate is that they're so young that they don't know any better. Like, you watch them grow up in front of you. You watch them in real time, not only learn the lessons of basketball, but learn the lessons of life in front of you. And they can't help but show you their actual emotions, show you their genuine selves. They don't know any better yet. And teams that typically win are polished on and off the court, and they know what to show the media. They know what to show their fan base. They know how to act in a certain way, and you never really see the genuine side of them. You've seen, I feel very confidently saying this, you've seen the genuine Thunder on and off the court, and that's special, and that's part of being a young team. And I'll remember what a once-in-a-lifetime team this was, in the sense of the average age of this team. They're not supposed to win championships. They're not supposed to get over the hump, and we will likely never see a team this young win a championship again. What had to happen to come to fruition of how young their coach is, how young their roster is, like, that's a special recipe that is hard to duplicate and probably will never be duplicated, at least in our lifetime.
You can stay up to date all year on the Oklahoma City Thunder by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Thunder on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app. Your Locked On Sports Today coming up, the Houston Rockets have propelled themselves into title contention. Before we get to that, the Phillies are back on top of the NL East. Ever check your bank account and wonder where'd all my money go between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment? It's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. Philadelphia Phillies routed the Mets to reclaim the NL East lead.
Certainly helps your Phillies fan psyche when the Phillies were able to take 2 out of 3 against the New York Mets in a weekend series, including taking the decisive Game 3, 7-1. Oh, and retaking, again, first place for the second time in the weekend. Certainly helps things out there in that regard. But Jesus Luzardo, fantastic in Game 3, keeping the Mets bats at bay, 6 2/3 scoreless innings, 3 hits, 1 walk, striking out 7, using his whole arsenal of pitches to do it. Absolutely incredible. And as for the Phillies bats, just what Luzardo needed. Run support, plating 5 runs in the 4th inning alone. Another big 4th inning for the Phils. This one got started with Kyle Schwarber blasting a 432-foot home run to dead center field, top of the batter's eye in that 4th. And then Edmundo Sosa, a 3-run home run in that 4th as well. Phillies now head to Houston for a 3-game series. They're off Monday. Then after that, a 3-game series with the Braves in Atlanta.
Elsewhere in baseball, the Mariners smashed the Cubs.
Are we sure we want the wind blowing out, or should we just go back to 50 degrees, wind blowing in at 20 miles an hour, 2-1, 3-2 games? I'm Sam Olber from the Locked On Cubs podcast, and the Cubs were embarrassed by the Mariners on Sunday. Mariners put up tons and tons of runs. Game never really felt close. Cubs lose 2 out of 3, and look, the pitching staff got exposed this weekend. Their lack of ability to generate whiffs, strikeouts, keeping the ball out of play. That's what you have to do on weekends like this. Now, it's always going to be tough to pitch on these type of weekends. It's very difficult. It was tough for Seattle, but you can really see what the Cubs were missing from their pitching staff. Add in the fact that the Brewers look like they're about to sweep the Minnesota Twins, and Cubs leads down to 3.5, and the Brewers have the Pirates and Rockies coming in, and for the first time all year, really, or at least since the beginning part of the year, you're going to face some standings adversity, some division adversity, with a tough schedule coming up this week against the Cardinals, who are also playing really well right on your heels, and then the Astros. So we'll see how this Cubs team responds. We know they need pitching, and this weekend highlighted it.
The Astros squeezed past the Angels.
Well, it looks like the AL West is still green with envy. Hello, I'm H-Town Wellhouse here with Locked On Astros, and the Astros win another series against an AL West opponent. They win today 8-7. Now, the Angels went on top first, and it looked like it was going to be another barrage of runs by the Angels, but the Astros would get on the board with home run after home run, another back-to-back. The job by Jeremy Pena and Mauricio Dubon, who actually had 2 home runs in the game today. Josh Hader would give up a solo shot late in the 9th, would make it 8-7, but the Astros out-hit the Angels 13-11. They score 4 runs or more. That's right, they did it again. They win 82+% of their games when they do so. Look, Eric and I got you covered on all things Houston Astros throughout the week, so make sure you subscribe to our podcast. The Houston Astros are surging as they are one of the top 3 premier teams in the American League. Oh, and don't forget, go vote for your favorite Astros All-Star. I'm H-Town Wellhouse. Always positive, always Stros.
The Houston Rockets have traded for Kevin Durant. Locked on Rockets host Jackson Gatlin breaks down the blockbuster trade.
KD is a Rocket. Wow, that is going to take some getting used to be able to say. It's been a crazy trade saga with the Rockets emerging as one of the finalists to land Kevin Durant. The reporting from Shams Charania suggests that it came down to the Houston Rockets and the Miami Heat in the wee hours of the night, and they went back and forth with the Suns, and ultimately Phoenix electing to go with the Phoenix package, or the Rockets package, I should say, of Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, the number 10 overall pick, and 5 future second-round draft picks. We're going to focus on the transactional part of this deal in just a moment, but let's just take a moment and think about what adding Kevin Durant to this young Rockets team means. First off, they add Kevin Durant to a team that just came off a 52-win season. They add Kevin Durant to a team that has one of the best young head coaches in the entire association in Ime Udoka. They add Kevin Durant to a team that's biggest weakness this past year, despite managing to win 52 wins in the regular season, despite taking a very talented Warriors team all the way to 7 games. The Rockets' most glaring weakness was their inability to get buckets when they needed them. The fact that they did not have a true 1A scoring option at the end of games. Sometimes you, sometimes me, always us. It was a beautiful mantra to have throughout the regular season. And there were times where it very much felt that way, right? Where the Rockets were greater than the sum of their parts. But there were too many games that were lost, both in the regular season and specifically in the playoffs against the Warriors, where they just could not manufacture points at the end of a game, where they did not have a talent good enough to be able to step up and win them a basketball game. Kevin Durant gives them that. This is as clear a signal as you can get from the Houston Rockets that they are in win now mode. Kevin Durant is now your best player on the floor, and the changes or any other subsequent changes that we will see with the roster will ultimately reflect that. KD steps into a situation where he gets to be the number 1 option on a team that already has a stalwart defensive identity. Kevin Durant is still a very capable and plus level defender in his own right. So he fits in and will mesh with that team identity immediately. There's no questions about that. Ime Udoka and Kevin Durant have a pre-existing relationship. Ime has coached KD before. Ime knows exactly what to expect by adding Kevin Durant to this Rockets team. Kevin Durant elevates this Rockets team from one of the young, plucky, upstart teams in the NBA that had a really bright future in this exciting young core into an immediate win-now contending move without, and this is the important notion here that I want Rockets fans to remember, without sacrificing their long-term ability to contend at the highest level. This is both a win now move as well as a move that, given the cost of the assets that you sent out, Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, the number 10 pick, and 5 second-round picks, you still have a monumental treasure trove of assets down the line. You still have the bright futures of Alperen Şengün, Jabari Smith Jr., who is integral. Keeping him was huge in this deal. Tari Eason, Amin Thompson, Cam Whitmore, Reed Shepherd. Keeping 6 out of the 7 members of the young core while still adding KD to a team that just won 52 games this past season and could have been more, honestly, addressing literally the team's biggest weakness. This is the most slam dunk move of slam dunk moves. And yes, there are still some slight concerns on the surface. KD will be 37 next year. He has a pre-existing injury history. These are very valid concerns looking at the Rockets acquiring KD. However, the Rockets should be in a position that they can mitigate some of those concerns. They don't have to heavily rely on KD getting them a guaranteed 25, 30, 35 a night in order to be able to win games. They've got plenty of other guys that can do the heavy lifting throughout the 82-game slog of the regular season, or even throughout a 48-minute basketball affair. KD doesn't need to be KD for this team to be able to have a chance to win games every night. KD can literally just slot in and take the shot diet of Dylan Brooks and Jalen Green, pick up some of their attempts, and then you just increase the roles for guys like Alperen Sengun, a bigger role offensively for him, a bigger role substantially for Amin Thompson offensively, maybe a bigger role for Jabari Smith Jr. offensively, who will probably be reinserted into the starting lineup now with the losses of both Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks. Bigger roles for Reed Shepherd and Cam Whitmore. The Rockets have more than enough talent to close the gap offensively while adding KD and allowing him to maybe coast a little bit at times.
Stay up to date all year on the Houston Rockets by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Rockets on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Coming up, LSU has won another College World Series title. The LSU Tigers have won their second College World Series title in just 3 seasons. Locked On LSU host Matt Moscona recaps the thrilling victory over Coastal Carolina.
You know, you were facing Jacob Morrison, who is a heck of a pitcher who's had a great season for Coastal. One of the things, though, we've talked about with Morrison, I know that I talked about, and a lot of the Coastal people, I did the crossover episode with Dave Schultz of Locked On Sunbelt, and I talked about the quality of the opponent being a differentiator and something that we shouldn't ignore. Morrison's great. He's got an ERA of 2, but you saw it today. There was nothing that Jacob Morrison did on the mound that looked unfamiliar or made LSU's hitters uncomfortable. And that's because over the course of the season, he faced 2 Power 5 schools. He faced Kansas State and North Carolina until Omaha. That was it. Oh, forgive me, until the postseason. They faced Auburn and then Oregon State. And he was good in those games, no doubt. But objectively, Oregon State ran out 8 of their 9 hitters were right-handed batters. And that was a big advantage for Morrison with a lineup stacked with righties. In this game, we knew Jay was going to run Curiel out there. Milam was going to flip around to the left side. Jake Brown was there from the left side. But interestingly enough, your offense and your breakthroughs came initially from guys batting on the right side, but then Curiel delivered the big blow, which we'll get to. But, Curiel strikes out to start the game. Ethan Fry grounds out. It's very quickly 2 outs in the ball game. In the first inning, and Milam comes up, and this was one of those things that I did think was interesting early in the game anyway, as we talked about the wind. And remember, Milam hit that little flare to left, and it dropped in the circle. Now, Milam should have been on his horse, and that should have been he should have been standing on second base. But what it is, and then after that, Brown struck out, and then they came up and. This is where the drama started with the coach, with the coach ejections. And I think it is something that we have to talk about. Lord knows they spent enough time on the broadcast talking about it in this game. The scenario went like this. Ianson gets a strikeout to start the game. And then if you remember, the second hitter hit the ground ball deep in the hole at second. Dickinson made a great play ranging to his right to get it, throw it over to Jones, and it just hit Jones on the heel of his glove. He couldn't come up with it. So you got a runner on first with 1 out. Ianson gets another strikeout. So there's 2 outs, runner on first. They steal. Runner safe at second. Well, at that point is when Coach Schnall starts arguing because on the stolen base, the home plate ump ruled the pitch on the stolen base a strike. And so Schnall argues, but the first base coach was arguing as well. So you could see the home plate umpire point down the first base line as if to give a warning. Well, at that point, Schnall engages from the dugout. And you just can't argue balls and strikes. Like we can have the whole conversation, y'all, about ump show. We can have the whole conversation about if umps are soft. And y'all know where I stand. In my opinion, every ump, official, ref, in every sport, they're all bad at their jobs because it is impossible to be good at that job. There is just no way that humans in real time can make split-second determinations and be correct 100% of the time, which is what our expectation is when we are watching in super high def, slow-mo, ultra see it, and they're trying to make instantaneous decisions. It's just not a real thing that can happen. So I expect umps and officials and refs to be bad at their job. It's just the way it's going to be.
If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports Today, we are here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up, how will the Durant trade affect the NBA draft? So at least until tomorrow, stay Locked On Sports Today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
For more episodes of Locked On Sports Today, go to our video on demand. Click on Sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.